The hospital room smelled of stale disinfectant and the sickly sweet scent of dying flowers. Cassandra Blackwell, usually a woman whose composure was as pristine as her perfectly tailored blazer, felt the air thicken with a betrayal so sharp it tasted like copper. She stood by the pristine white bed where her daughter-in-law, Serena Vance Blackwell, lay seemingly recovering from the emergency surgery she had begged Cassandra to fund just hours ago. "Oh, Cassandra, you came," Serena mumbled, her voice weak and theatrical. "I truly thought I wouldn't make it. Thank you. You saved my life. I don't know what I would have done without that $15,000. Cassandra's gaze was not on the pale, rehearsed face, but on the thin, plastic band around Serena's wrist, the patient's wristband. Serena, always meticulous about hiding it, had missed tucking it under the hospital gown's cuff. There, printed in clean black font next to her name, was the procedure: elective cosmetic rhinoplasty. Not the urgent, life-saving gallbladder removal she had sobbed about over the phone, claiming the emergency was why she couldn't use her own locked-up investment funds. The shock lasted only a second, quickly superseded by a seismic wave of utter, soul-crushing indignation. "You're right, Serena," Cassandra said, her voice dropping to a dangerous, soft pitch. "You wouldn't have made it without that money. Because without it, you'd have been forced to wait for a specialist to fix your emergency gallbladder, or worse, not gotten your nose job at all." She leaned closer, her expensive perfume suddenly masking the sterile scent of the room. "The gallbladder story? It was a lie. You're here for cosmetic surgery. You defrauded me." Serena's pale facade shattered. Her eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape, before settling into a cold, defensive glare. It was a surprise diagnosis. They found the gallbladder problem after the initial cosmetic procedure. They combined them to save money, mother-in-law. "Don't be so dramatic. Don't lie to me," Cassandra hissed, her voice steel. She tapped the plastic band with a manicured finger. "The coding is right here. P01. Rhinoplasty. No secondary procedure is listed. The lie is you, Serena. The lie is always you." Cassandra didn't wait for the inevitable torrent of tears or counter-accusations. She simply walked out, the closing of the door a soft but final declaration of war. Her pain had been transformed into an immediate, white-hot resolve. The indignity of being treated like an ATM, a fool, and a sentimental mark by the person her own son, Gideon Blackwell, had chosen to marry, finally snapped her remaining loyalty. The surgery had been the final, $15,000 insult. But it was only the latest entry in a long and damning ledger. In the sterile silence of the hospital lobby, she pulled out her phone and accessed her banking records, performing a detailed mental accounting of the quantified abuse. It was a list she had kept in the back of her mind for years, a tally of every emotional plea, every emergency, every investment opportunity that had drained her savings and, more crucially, her sense of self-worth. The down payment on their forever home, after Gideon was laid off, $50,000. She had liquidated her safe deposit bonds for that. The $15,000 investment into Serena's disastrous, short-lived online boutique, which disappeared faster than her inventory. The $10,000 for their necessary, extended honeymoon to the Maldives after the wedding. The endless smaller sums. The $3,000 for the crucial business trip that was just a weekend getaway. The $5,000 for urgent car repairs, which resulted in a new SUV with custom rims. The latest $15,000 for the lie in the hospital. The total was staggering, $83,000 in direct, documented financial exploitation over 5 years, not including the countless meals, utility bills, and luxury gifts she had provided out of what she thought was supportive motherly love. This was not about money. It was about the indignation of being systematically and cruelly manipulated. They didn't see her as a person. They saw her as a bridge to a lifestyle she had worked 30 years to build. The shame was not in being generous, but in allowing her generosity to be weaponized against her. Driven by an urgent need for counsel, Cassandra drove straight to the small, unpretentious art gallery owned by her oldest friend, Elijah Stone. Elijah, a witty and cynical sculptor, was the only person who had always seen the truth through the fog of Gideon's passive enablement and Serena's calculated charm. Elijah was chipping away at a granite block, the rhythmic thump-thump-thump of his hammer a visceral soundtrack to Cassandra's anxiety. She recounted the wristband, the lie, and the cold, hard realization of the $83,000. "I feel like a complete fool, Elijah. A broken-down old woman they were simply milking dry." Elijah put down his hammer, his eyes, usually sparking with artistic fire, now filled with a deep, sympathetic concern. "Cassandra, you are anything but a fool. You are a good person who gave her heart and her fortune to her only son. They are predators who targeted your best quality, your loyalty." He poured her a glass of water, his hands covered in granite dust. "But I need to know," she pressed, a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. Have you heard them talk about me? To others?" Elijah hesitated, his gaze shifting to the floor. "I have, Cass. It's difficult to say, but about 6 months ago, at the charity gala, Serena told our mutual acquaintance Agnes that you were becoming difficult. She said you had been forgetting to pay bills and were developing an erratic temper." He shook his head grimly. Gideon stood right there and nodded, confirming the mental decline narrative. "It's a calculated, public campaign, Cass. They're preparing the ground. If they can't wheedle the money out of you, they'll try to take control of it." The confirmation was a gut punch. They weren't just exploiting her, they were actively laying the groundwork to have her declared incompetent. The betrayal wasn't merely financial. It was existential. They were trying to steal her dignity, her autonomy, and her very sanity. The cold rage returned, stronger this time. "Not anymore," Cassandra whispered, standing up, the new resolve hardening her face into a mask of pure determination. "I am done being their mark. I am done being the crazy old woman." She was barely back in her car when her phone buzzed. It was Gideon. "Mom. Thank God you're back home. We have a crisis. Serena needs the balance of the $50,000, and our joint account just got frozen. We're going to lose the house. You have to transfer your emergency funds, right now. There's no time." His voice was frantic, a perfect mix of panic and assumed urgency. The script was predictable. Cassandra's hands, which had trembled earlier, were now perfectly steady on the steering wheel. She waited a beat, letting the silence stretch, savoring the power that now lay solely in her control. "Gideon," she said, her voice completely devoid of emotion, a cold, smooth stone. "I just left your wife's bedside. She is recovering nicely from her rhinoplasty." A stunned silence hung on the line, the sound of Gideon's sharp intake of breath the only noise. He hadn't known. Serena had lied to her husband, too. The web of deceit was even wider than she thought. He recovered quickly, reverting to aggression. "What are you talking about? She needed the surgery. Don't you dare abandon us now. We need that money for the mortgage. We did you a favor, keeping you close. We are your only family." Cassandra pulled into her driveway, parked, and took a breath. This was the moment. The power reversal. "Actually, Gideon, I have just paid off my own mortgage on my house, and I have moved the rest of my liquid assets into an unlisted trust account with a new lawyer," she stated simply. "And as of 5 minutes ago, I closed the HELOC I guaranteed for your house. The bank will be in touch. I do not loan money to liars and thieves. You are on your own." Her final line was a cold, powerful one-liner, delivered with the absolute certainty of a judge passing sentence. "The bank account is closed, but my eyes are finally wide open." She hung up the phone before his sputtering protests could even form coherent words. For the first time in years, she felt a heady sense of peace mixed with exhilaration. Barely 10 minutes later, the texts began to flood in. Gideon. Serena. Threatening. Cajoling. Pleading. Then, a new one appeared. Colder, more ominous. "Serena, text you have made a mistake, Cassandra. A very expensive one. The house is half yours, remember? My attorney, Mr. Rylander, will be contacting your new lawyer tomorrow. He thinks your sudden change of heart proves you're not capable of managing your own affairs. We'll take control of your assets instead. This was it. The fight wasn't over. They were going to try and have her declared incompetent and seize everything. The battle had just begun, and the greatest threat was now looming. The threat of legal and institutional action. Cassandra knew she had to find a lawyer who was not just good, but ethical, before they could carry out their ultimate threat. Immediate aftermath of the financial cutoff the next morning, Cassandra was not surprised to see a sleek black sedan pull into her driveway. Serena and Gideon emerged, accompanied by a man in a perfectly tailored, aggressively expensive suit. Mr. Rylander, the attorney. Cassandra met them at the door, her own attire a simple, but immaculate, cashmere dress. She carried herself with the unwavering posture of a woman who had spent decades running a successful business, and who understood exactly how power dynamics worked. She did not invite them in. "This is unannounced," Cassandra stated coolly, blocking the entryway. "This is urgent, Cassandra," Mr. Rylander cut in, his voice clipped and dismissive, carrying a rehearsed legal gravitas. He held a thick manila envelope. "I represent Serena and Gideon Blackwell. Given your recent erratic behavior, specifically the unilateral closure of lines of credit and the impulsive movement of significant assets, we believe you are suffering from a decline in cognitive function that warrants immediate attention." Serena stepped forward, laying a trembling hand on Gideon's arm, playing the distressed, dutiful child. "Mother, we are just worried about you. We can't let you throw away everything you've worked for. We need to protect you from yourself." Gideon, looking utterly miserable but standing firm, only managed a weak, "It's for the best, Mom." Mr. Rylander produced a document. "This is a formal notice of intent to petition the court for a temporary conservatorship. It gives us oversight until a full cognitive assessment can be performed. We are specifically concerned with the equity in this property, which, as a joint asset, is at risk due to your unstable decisions." Cassandra felt a momentary flicker of fear. The institutional power they wielded was intimidating. But the fire of her indignation was a stronger motivator. She took the envelope, glanced at the legal boilerplate, and looked directly into Mr. Rylander's smug face. "First, Mr. Rylander, this notice is moot, as you are not on my property yet, and I revoke any implied right of entry. Second, the house equity you refer to, it was placed in a protective trust for my eventual medical care years ago, with me as the sole, non-revocable trustee. The joint tenancy was a courtesy I revoked the moment Serena lied about her surgery." She then turned her attention to her son. "Gideon, you are standing here, enabling a campaign to have your mother stripped of her dignity and her autonomy, all because you cannot manage your own finances. You are attacking me based on a blatant lie." She pointed a finger towards the street. "You will leave now. Any further communication must go through my attorney. Trespassers will be prosecuted." Mr. Rylander scoffed. "You think some boilerplate threat will stop us? We'll see you in court, Mrs. Blackwell. We have the medical records and witness testimony to prove you are unwell." "Bring your records," Cassandra said, her voice rising in pitch, but not in volume. A cold, decisive note that commanded attention. "And bring your witnesses. Because I'll be bringing the police report for elder financial abuse." She slammed the door shut, leaving the three of them standing on the pavement. The confrontation was bruising, but she had held the line. They left minutes later, Serena shooting one last venomous look over her shoulder. Cassandra knew she couldn't rely on the corporate attorneys who usually handled her business affairs. She needed a fighter, someone who specialized in family law and, critically, elder abuse. She called Elijah Stone, who immediately recommended Ms. Lenora Hayes, a sharp, no-nonsense lawyer known for handling complex and emotionally charged cases in the appellate courts. Lenora Hayes' office was purposefully sparse, designed to project efficiency, not opulence. Cassandra laid out the entire narrative: the $83,000, the cosmetic surgery lie, the public smear campaign, and the final conservatorship threat. Lenora listened, taking rapid notes, her expression remaining neutral. When Cassandra finished, The lawyer leaned forward, her elbows on the desk. Mrs. Blackwell, what Serena and Gideon are attempting is a classic, predatory maneuver. You are not erratic. You are retaliating against elder financial abuse, Lenora stated, validating Cassandra's feelings and giving the betrayal a necessary legal name. The moment you cut off their access to your wealth, they move to declare you unfit to control it. It's a move of desperation, but a dangerous one. Lenora laid out the strategy. They will rely on perception. We will rely on documentation. Your sudden financial actions are not signs of incompetence. They are the actions of a person reacting rationally to criminal fraud. My first piece of advice: document everything. Every text, every lie, every transfer, and every rumor you've heard. Get everything transcribed. This is war, Mrs. Blackwell, and paperwork is your ammunition. She confirmed the defense plan. We will counter-sue for emotional distress and financial fraud, and we will aggressively defend the conservatorship petition by obtaining an independent medical evaluation and exposing their motive in court. You did the right thing by closing the HELOC. Now let's ensure they never touch another penny of yours. Felt like the silence before a storm. Cassandra knew the text from Serena was not a bluff. Her daughter-in-law had the ruthless ambition of a shark and a terrifying willingness to lie, supported by Gideon's spineless complicity. They were going for the nuclear option, the conservatorship, an attempt to strip Cassandra of her legal rights and seize her assets by claiming she was mentally incompetent. Following Lenora's advice, Cassandra took immediate, physical steps to fortify her autonomy and security. She hired a locksmith to change every exterior lock on her home. A security company installed discreet surveillance cameras focused on the driveway and entrances, digitally documenting any further harassment. She moved the remaining money from her old bank to a new, smaller, regional bank, creating accounts that required two-factor biometric authentication, removing the possibility of them ever accessing or monitoring her activities. Next, she sought out her social ally, the Army. She went to her monthly book club meeting, held at the home of Margaret Chen, a retired high school principal and a woman known for her keen intellect and fierce loyalty. Cassandra recounted the confrontation and the conservatorship threat to the small group of trusted women. The shock was universal, but Margaret's response was the most powerful. "They are not fighting you, Cassandra. They are fighting us," Margaret declared, setting her teacup down with a sharp click. "They see you as a weak link, an old woman whose savings are theirs for the taking. We have all seen how they treat you. We have watched Serena's extravagance and Gideon's entitlement. We are your army, Cassandra. We will provide testimony. We will stand by you. Your actions are not erratic. They are the ultimate act of self-preservation." The solidarity was a profound bomb. It transformed her private shame into public validation. She wasn't fighting alone. She was fighting for every person who had been taken advantage of by younger, greedy family members. With her legal and social foundations secured, Cassandra made a bold, symbolic move. 4 years, every spare dollar, every personal whim, had been sacrificed for Gideon and Serena's supposed needs. Now, she was going to spend that money on the one person they had ignored, herself. She drove to the city and visited a high-end salon. She traded her conservative, silver-streaked barb for a sharp, modern cut, dyed a rich, uncompromising auburn. She bought 2 exquisite, tailored suits, a bold departure from her previous muted wardrobe, and a pair of shoes that were expensive and utterly unnecessary. The cost was minimal compared to the $83,000, but the psychological return was priceless. She wasn't preparing for battle. She was announcing her return. The change did not go unnoticed by the villains. Serena and Gideon's harassment escalated the moment they realized Cassandra was serious. The texts turned to calls, the calls to drive-bys. They would park across the street, making her feel watched, often sending aggressive emails full of legal threats and emotional blackmail. "You are destroying your family. You will die alone if you don't drop this." Following Lenora's advice, Cassandra logged every minute, every text, every sighting. The constant siege became intolerable. Lenora filed the necessary paperwork, and 3 days later, Cassandra was granted a temporary restraining order against both Serena and Gideon, prohibiting contact and requiring them to stay at least 500 feet from her property and her person. The day the restraining order was served, the final, desperate act began. Cassandra received an official-looking letter from the County Adult Protective Services. The subject line was damning. Report of neglect and potential cognitive impairment of C. Blackwell. The letter detailed an anonymous report claiming Cassandra was living in squalor, neglecting her personal hygiene, and exhibiting signs of severe paranoia, i.e., changing all the locks and installing surveillance. The report stated a social worker, Ms. Ortega, would be conducting a mandatory home visit to investigate her fitness to live alone and manage her affairs. Cassandra stared at the letter. They couldn't touch her money, so now they were trying to steal her freedom by making her look like a vulnerable victim of her own paranoia. The stakes had been dramatically raised, and the fight was now institutional. The state itself was now involved, acting on the villain's lies, and Cassandra knew she was now just one false step away from having her life completely dictated by a government authority. The morning of the home visit by Adult Protective Services felt like an interrogation. Ms. Ortega, the social worker, arrived precisely on time, a professional woman with a weary but sharp gaze. She was clearly prepared for a confrontational, potentially hostile environment, but she found Cassandra sitting in her meticulously organized living room, flanked by Lenora Hayes. Mrs. Blackwell, I am here following a report detailing concerns about your well-being and cognitive stability, Ms. Ortega began, her tone formal. Cassandra offered a small, polite smile. Of course, Ms. Ortega. I understand your duty. However, I want to clarify the origin of this report. It was filed anonymously, but I have a substantial suspicion as to its source. My son, Gideon Blackwell, and his wife, Serena Vance Blackwell, who are currently subject to a temporary restraining order for harassment and are attempting to pursue a conservatorship against me. Lenora Hayes took the lead, placing a binder full of documents on the coffee table. Ms. Ortega, we welcome this investigation, as it will prove, unequivocally, that Mrs. Blackwell is not only competent but is the victim of a coordinated campaign of elder financial abuse and harassment. We have prepared a complete chronological record. The binder contained everything: the bank statements detailing the $83,000 in loans, the hospital records proving the cosmetic surgery lie, the texts and emails from Gideon and Serena demanding money, the restraining order, and the police non-emergency report detailing the harassment. Cassandra spoke clearly, addressing the core accusations. The report claims I am paranoid and living in squalor. As you can see, the house is immaculate. The paranoia, the new locks and cameras, are a direct, rational response to the threat of intrusion and theft by the very people who filed the complaint. Ms. Ortega spent the next hour conducting a thorough but non-invasive assessment. She examined the pristine home, observed Cassandra's articulate, detailed responses, and reviewed the overwhelming documentation. Lenora pointed to the financial records. A person experiencing cognitive decline does not have the wherewithal to identify an elaborate financial fraud, consult an ethical lawyer, secure their assets, and obtain a restraining order. Mrs. Blackwell's actions are evidence of above-average executive function, Lenora emphasized. By the end of the visit, Ms. Ortega's initial weariness had morphed into quiet professional outrage. She closed her notebook. Mrs. Blackwell, this is clearly a case of weaponized institutional reporting. I have more than enough evidence to close this file immediately as unfounded. Furthermore, I will be forwarding a note to the county prosecutor's office noting the potential for misuse of APS services for the purpose of harassment and intimidation. The institutional attack had failed. The authority they had hoped to use as a weapon had instead been turned against them, forcing the social worker to question the villain's motives and confirm Cassandra's sanity. The closure of the APS case sent Gideon and Serena into a frenzy. Their lawsuit was still pending, but their key argument, Cassandra's supposed decline, was crumbling. In a final, desperate move, Lenora discovered they had submitted a crucial, distorted piece of evidence. A statement signed by Dr. Jace Coleman, a highly respected retired physician who had been Cassandra's primary care doctor for 20 years. The statement claimed Dr. Coleman had observed early concerning signs of memory issues and impulsivity, in Cassandra's behavior during a routine checkup 6 months prior, precisely the time Serena began her smear campaign. This was the smoking gun that could sway the judge. Cassandra knew she had to confront Dr. Coleman, believing he had been misled, not willingly corrupted. She arrived at Dr. Coleman's retirement community, her heart pounding with a mix of fury and sadness. He greeted her warmly, confirming her suspicion. He had been tricked. "Cassandra, what a surprise. You look wonderful." "Dr. Coleman, did you sign a statement for Serena and Gideon Blackwell, attesting to my mental decline?" The old doctor's face crumpled. They came to me, yes. They told me you were in a terrible financial situation, giving away your money, and they were trying to save your assets. Serena said she just needed a note to get a temporary financial freeze to protect you. She showed me a few innocuous notes I'd made about you for getting a prescription refill once. I wrote a brief general statement saying I noticed some forgetfulness and signed it as a favor to protect your assets, as she claimed. He ran a hand over his thinning hair, horrified. "They lied, didn't they? They used that to attack you. They used it to try and have me declared mentally incompetent and steal everything I own," Cassandra confirmed, her voice firm but gentle. "Dr. Coleman, I need you to understand. Your signature is the one piece of neutral evidence they have. If I don't get a formal retraction from you, signed and notarized, I could lose everything. My freedom, my house, my dignity. They are using your good name to ruin mine." Dr. Coleman, deeply ashamed, didn't hesitate. "I will sign a full retraction and an affidavit today, Cassandra. I will state clearly that my earlier note was obtained under false pretenses and that, in my professional opinion, you are lucid, articulate, and completely fit to manage your affairs. My God, I am so sorry." The confrontation secured the retraction, gutting the villain's core medical argument. Lenora Hayes, anticipating the need for irrefutable proof, arranged for Cassandra to undergo a neutral psychiatric/cognitive assessment with a highly reputable, court-appointed specialist, Dr. Alara Reed. This assessment was mandatory for the conservatorship proceedings, and the results would carry immense weight. The examination was grueling: hours of testing, puzzles, detailed interviews, and memory recall exercises. Cassandra approached it not as a test of her sanity, but as a final performance to prove her strength. The report arrived a week later. Lenora read the key findings to Cassandra over the phone, the lawyer's voice ringing with triumph. "Listen to this, Cassandra. Dr. Reed's conclusion is unambiguous. Patient C. Blackwell displays superior memory recall, complex problem-solving abilities, and above-average executive function consistent with an accomplished individual. There is no evidence of cognitive impairment, dementia, or psychiatric disorder. Her recent financial and security decisions are classified as rational, protective measures taken in response to documented duress and exploitation." The result, above-average mental competence, was a decisive victory. It was the scientific and professional stamp of approval that rendered every one of Serena and Gideon's claims utterly baseless. To prepare for the final trial, Cassandra hosted a dinner for her allies, Lenora Hayes, Elijah Stone, and Margaret Chen. The mood was one of strategic determination. "We have the APS closure, Dr. Coleman's retraction, and Dr. Reed's stellar cognitive report," Lenora summarized. "The legal grounds for their petition are dissolving, but the courtroom is still a theater. We need to show the judge that Cassandra has a legitimate, loving support network that they tried to isolate her from." Elijah and Margaret immediately offered to testify about the smear campaign and Cassandra's stable character. The sight of her army gathering, ready to defend her dignity, brought Cassandra a fierce, bittersweet comfort. Later that evening, after her friends had left, Cassandra sat alone in the quiet house, finally allowing herself a moment of grief and final acceptance. She picked up an old photograph, a slightly faded picture of Gideon as a beaming young man, standing next to a proud younger Cassandra. She realized the battle wasn't against Serena's greed. It was against the ghost of the son she thought she had raised. Gideon had willingly chosen Serena, the lie, and the money over his mother. The years of emotional investment, the hope for reconciliation, the belief that he would eventually see the light. all of it was dead. The fight was irreversible. She was not just winning a legal battle. She was finalizing a divorce from her own family. She gently placed the photo face down. The love was gone, replaced by a cold, hard fact. They were strangers, and their relationship was now purely transactional, defined by the abuse she had suffered. This was the final, painful step towards her freedom. 2 days later, the official summons arrived. A final, thick envelope from the court, stamped with the seal of the state. It contained the final court date and the detailed summons for the conservatorship trial. Cassandra held the heavy paper in her hands, her heart surprisingly steady. All the evidence was in her favor. She had the documents, the witnesses, and the professional validation. Yet, she knew that in a courtroom, a manipulative lawyer's performance could still sway a judge, and her freedom and dignity were still dangerously at risk. She had one chance to face them in the final arena, under the harsh light of the law, and she had to be ready to deliver a testimony that would turn the tide not just legally, but morally. The courtroom was quiet, the air heavy with tension and the smell of old paper. Cassandra, dressed in one of her new, sharp-tailored suits, sat beside Lenora Hayes. Across the aisle, Serena, looking strained but determined, sat next to Gideon, who looked pale and defeated. Mr. Rylander, their attorney, had an air of frantic confidence, aware his case was weaker than paper, but counting on emotional manipulation and courtroom theatrics. Mr. Rylander opened with a final, desperate plea, painting Cassandra as a lonely, impulsive woman whose erratic actions threatened her legacy, and emphasizing the grief of her son. Lenora Hayes, however, systematically demolished their case. She presented Dr. Coleman's full retraction, the report from Adult Protective Services classifying the original complaint as harassment, and the powerful, non-negotiable conclusion from Dr. Reed, above-average mental competence. Finally, it was Cassandra's turn to testify. Lenora asked simple, direct questions about her financial history and her current management practices. Cassandra answered with precision, citing specific dates and figures, proving her absolute lucidity. Then, Lenora guided her to the heart of the matter. "Mrs. Blackwell, why did you decide to take these dramatic actions? Changing locks, moving funds, and seeking a restraining order, after years of supporting your son and daughter-in-law?" Cassandra turned from Lenora to address the judge, the Honorable Jessica Perez, directly. She spoke softly at first, then her voice gathered strength, transforming the incompetence proceedings into a moral judgment against the villain's greed. "Your Honor, I was not acting impulsively or erratically. I was acting like a rational person who finally realized she was being professionally exploited. For years, I believed I was lending money to family in genuine need. I was wrong. I was funding a lifestyle built on lies." The final straw was the $15,000 for a supposed life-saving surgery that turned out to be cosmetic rhinoplasty, a lie easily exposed by looking at the hospital bracelet. She paused, letting the weight of the statement settle. Serena flinched, her composure cracking. When I stopped giving them money, their reaction was not disappointment. It was immediate, calculated rage. They launched a campaign to destroy my reputation, calling me forgetful and unstable. When that failed, they used the institutions of this state, Adult Protective Services, and now this court, to try and have me legally erased. They didn't want my help, Your Honor. They wanted my control. They sought a conservatorship not to protect me, but to gain legal access to my entire estate. She looked at Gideon, the expression on her face one of profound, final sorrow. "This is not about money, Your Honor. It is about dignity. They are attempting to steal my self-determination, the right to decide how I live and how I spend the money I earned. If this court grants this petition, it tells every older person that their kindness can be used as evidence of their incompetence, and that their abusers can be rewarded with their life savings." Her final words were a quiet, devastating summary. "I have proven I am mentally fit. My actions were not a sign of decline. They were the actions of a person drawing a boundary against abuse. They call me incompetent, but they are the ones who lack the moral competence to manage a relationship or a budget without resorting to fraud and legal aggression." The courtroom remained silent. Judge Perez, a woman who had seen decades of messy family disputes, studied Cassandra carefully. She then looked at Mr. Rylander, who had no coherent rebuttal to the mountain of evidence and Cassandra's powerful testimony. "Mr. Rylander," the judge stated, her voice sharp and final, "the petitioner's evidence for cognitive impairment has been conclusively refuted by a court-appointed professional. The history you have presented, including the documented financial transfers and the subsequent use of adult protective services and this court for personal gain, suggests the motives of the petitioners are mercenary, not compassionate." Judge Perez slapped her gavel down once. "The petition for conservatorship is denied." She did not stop there. Furthermore, the court finds the petitioners, Serena Vance Blackwell and Gideon Blackwell, have engaged in a pattern of harassment and potentially fraudulent behavior toward the respondent. Therefore, I am imposing permanent and strict sanctions. The judge imposed the following. The existing temporary restraining order is made permanent, prohibiting all contact. The petitioners are ordered to pay all of Mrs. Blackwell's legal costs incurred in defending this frivolous and malicious action, to be satisfied within 90 days. Finally, I am directing the court clerk to forward a full transcript of this proceeding to the State Bar and the County Prosecutor's Office for review of the petitioners and their counsel's actions. The gavel's sound was the audible collapse of Serena and Gideon's plan. Serena gasped, clutching Gideon's arm, her face a mask of fury and sudden, stark terror. "No, this is impossible. You can't," she spat, momentarily forgetting the solemnity of the court, earning a sharp rebuke from the bailiff. The thought of paying Cassandra significant legal fees, on top of their own, meant the financial ruin they had so desperately tried to avoid was now a certainty. Gideon looked utterly broken. He hadn't just lost the fight. He had lost his mother, his dignity, and now his financial future. The entitlement that had defined his adult life had finally crashed into the unyielding wall of his mother's righteous vengeance. As they stumbled out of the courtroom, arguing in frantic whispers, Cassandra observed their defeat with a cool, detached calm. There was no triumph, only the quiet satisfaction of justice. The cycle of abuse was closed. They had gambled their family relationship for money and lost everything. She felt nothing for them, no pity, no regret, just the clean, necessary closure of a painful chapter. The epilogue of Cassandra's life began the moment she walked out of the courthouse, the setting sun glinting off the newly dyed auburn in her hair. She had won her freedom and her future. The first thing she did was take a trip, not for urgent business or family duty, but for pure, selfish joy. She spent 2 weeks hiking in the Canadian Rockies with Elijah Stone and Margaret Chen, laughing, sharing stories, and embracing the restorative power of true friendship. She dedicated her mornings to a new hobby. She enrolled in a master class on historical literature, a passion she had deferred for 20 years. The intellectual stimulation was a testament to her validated, sharp mind. She started donating modest but regular amounts to charities focused on elder advocacy and anti-fraud initiatives, using her money to protect others from the kind of abuse she had endured. The house, once the site of constant anxiety and veiled threats, became her sanctuary. She began the process of selling the home she had once guaranteed for Gideon, replacing it with a stylish, smaller condo overlooking the city, a space defined by her choices and her peace. Reflecting on the years of sacrifice and the ultimate cost of her liberation, Cassandra understood the profound moral of her story. She had mistakenly conflated sacrifice with love, and generosity with obligation. She had learned a painful but essential truth. True freedom isn't just about having money. It is about choosing who deserves your time and your money. It's about building a future defined by intentional generosity to those who value you, not by obligation to those who exploit you. "I lost a son, but I gained my life back, and that balance sheet finally is in the black." Her life now was quiet, dignified, and entirely her own. She was Cassandra Blackwell, restored and whole. The voice changes slightly, becoming the familiar, direct narration of Amália. And that, my dear listeners, is how Cassandra Blackwell finally closed the ledger on her son and daughter-in-law's greed. She paid a painful tuition in betrayal, but she graduated with a powerful degree in wisdom and self-respect. Did you like this story? What would you have done the moment you saw that hospital bracelet? Would you have confronted them, or would you have walked away silently? Let me know in the comments below, and tell me, what is the greatest sign of true betrayal? Don't forget to subscribe to the Amália Diaries for more long-form, dramatic stories of injustice, psychological suspense, and the sweet vengeance of the wise.